Let's check out today's project. Got a whole box of junk here. Literally, a whole pile of junk. And yeah, so let's explain what's going on. So I was on a job last week, and on the way back the truck started knocking pretty bad, and I'll put this video up. So I wasn't sure what it is. I pulled the valve cover off, of course. I was on the road, so then I finally got it home. It was late at night and didn't find anything really until I started pulling it apart. So the first thing, this is the rocker arm. This is a 671 Detroit 671 boat anchor. So this is a rocker arm for the injector. First thing I noticed was I was poking around in there. That thing is really loose. It actually looks more loose in person than it does in the camera. So I got another one of them, and I started poking around in there a little more, and I found this. I don't know what or how that got caused. That is for the exhaust valve on the left side. So I just tore everything apart so I can get the parts ordered as soon as possible. That's pretty bad. I've never really seen a push rod bent that bad before. And these are solid too. There's no hole in them. So this... I don't even know if this is worth it at this point, because something must have came up and smacked those valves and caused that to bend. And it's pretty likely that I probably have bent valves now. But I don't see any of the valves that are bent well, obviously I'm not going to pull the head off, but nothing seems too funky in there right now. So these parts are really cheap. So I figured what I'm going to do is just roll the dice. I'm going to put all these new parts in, put the new push rod in, put all this stuff in. Well, the new push rod won't be here for a couple days, so we'll have to wait on that. Put all this stuff in and just see what happens. I mean, what do I got to lose? I said I already pulled most of this stuff apart because I was in a big hurry to try to figure out what's going on, and of course, like anything, I never have my camera on me when shit goes haywire. So most of it's already apart. I already loosened that. I'm not even gonna pretend that I didn't. I forgot that I already loosened that. Pop that off. Fancy dancy tool here. I'm surprised how hard this injector came out. Right. Not too bad. Look down here with the flashlight. Not gonna be able to see much. Not really much to see anyway, it's just a hole. Let's throw this new injector in. this is supposed to be 25 foot-pounds from what I understand, what I've read, so there's that. Make sure the rack moves freely. Alright, so this is all we're going to be able to do for a couple days till that push rod comes in. That push rod was right here, and it was bent really bad. So that means the piston hit these two valves, because I can't think of anything else that would have bent a push rod that bad than the piston hitting these. And I got up here with a hammer handle and pushed my whole body down on these just to see if they were like stuck or anything. And I mean, I don't see any kind of real damage from right here, but I'm sure it didn't help it. When I grab this valve right here and I can wiggle these valves around, I already know what I'm gonna have people say. I'm gonna have people say, well, that turbo you put on there probably bent that push rod. Well, first of all, that turbo only, I got the makeshift blow-off valve, and that turbo only builds 5 pounds of boost at a full pull, so that's definitely not what caused it. 5 pounds of boost isn't gonna bend a push rod. Not bend a push rod that bad. That thing is wasted. A couple more things here. I don't know how good you could see it on camera, but the inside of that push rod, where that bearing is pretty well wore out. And it's not that bad. You know, this one here's pretty roached. Here we are a couple days later. The push rod I've been waiting for, and the retainer clip I've been waiting for. Here's the old push rod. It's bent in like at least 2 places there and there. Looks like it was rubbing on that thing that keeps it in. Alright, this was way too hard to do on camera to get this little snap ring in down here. You can see what I did is I got a screwdriver on the rocker shaft and a little 3/8 piece of pipe, and I use a screwdriver to push that down as I put the snap ring in there with the needle nose pliers and pushed it down with another flathead screwdriver. I don't know how you're supposed to do it, but that's how I did it, and it worked pretty good. Make sure you got the machine side of this towards the rocker arms. I'm just going to start these bolts. I'm not going to tighten anything yet. So we got to get these threaded in. going to take all three of these, thread them in all the way as far as I can. It's going to take forever, so we'll get back when I get that done. So these specs here, I believe, call for 95 pounds, I looked up. So let's torque these down. All right. There's 95 foot-pounds. And now I got to get this engine turned around so I can time the injector and set the valve lash for the exhaust. All right, I rotated the engine until the injector is fully depressed. So I looked it up and we got 0.013 for the exhaust lash. Let's go ahead and set that. These you want to take your time with on any engine. Make sure you can, it's not wicked loose, but you could kind of with a little bit of pressure pull that out. One thing I can guarantee you with any engine is you're better off too loose than too tight. I don't mean way loose, but loose, more, too loose is better than too tight. I'm happy with this one right here. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten that. Once you tighten your jam nut, check it again. See, just tightening that jam nut, tighten this thing up, so there we go. Alright, I'm happy with that one. Do the other one the exact same way. All right, check them again, make sure we're happy. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is rotate the engine until the exhaust rockers are fully depressed. Alright, so now I made this fancy dancy injector timing tool. You could buy these, you could use a feeler gauge, they do a whole lot of different things that you could use, but what I did here is I went in my lathe and got exactly 1.484 inches from that ledge to that ledge. And that's what it calls for. So I'm going to use that because I'm too cheap to buy the actual tool, I guess. think I'm happy with that right there. And now it's time to put our fuel lines on. Alright, we're all together. As always on a Detroit, always make sure your rack moves freely. Everything in here is a little loose. I should go through and run the rack, but I'm not worried about it at this time. I just want to get it running because I got stuff I need to do. I ran the rack and everything and set all the valve lash when I first got this motor before I had a YouTube channel. It was about 3 years ago. So I haven't put many miles on it since, so I'm sure it's probably somewhat fine for now. Alright, so at this time I'm going to start this motor up, and you know, a common thing you got to watch out for these is making sure fuel doesn't come out of here because it'll contaminate your oil really bad. So we're going to start it up, just kind of check everything visually and make sure fuel doesn't come out of here, and if it does, we'll have to take care of it. Alright, just had it running for a little while here until it got up to temperature and it started knocking again. So I'm not really sure what's going on now, but I guess I'm just going to keep poking around in here and see what I can find. So I'll start it up and I'll see if I can get the knocking caught on camera, because it kind of comes and goes. When it comes, it's pretty loud, so let's try it. Smokes a lot more than it did before too. Never used to smoke that much after it was warmed up, and it's smoking quite a bit. I don't know. Pretty loud now, you can hear it. Alright, well here it is a couple days later since the last time we messed with the Detroit and the old International. I got some pretty bad news, I guess. Looks to me what happened after hours of extensive work and taking stuff apart and messing with things out there. It's not the injector. I rotated the engine around, and it looks like what happened was a ring broke off and went up into the top of the cylinder, and that's what caused the bent valve, push rod, and all that stuff. So come to find out, that injector wasn't bad. That's just the first thing that I figured I'd put in there to see if it was bad, but I still didn't get any firing. I still got a lot of smoke, and it was vibrating like crazy, so I knew I had a misfire somewhere. So I did the old pry bar trick, or whatever you call it, and pushed down all the injectors one by one so they couldn't fire, and lo and behold, the cylinder in question that we were working on had a misfire, and I switched out different injectors. I had about 3 different injectors in there from other cylinders that were firing, and did some other testing and stuff off camera, and come to find out that cylinder doesn't have any compression. So it's obvious that I have a bent valve at this point, and it's obvious that the head needs to come off and look at other options. So that's why I'm here today, to see the other option. This is plan B. This is a 3406A Caterpillar DITA, direct injection. I picked this up about a few days ago. Thing's in really nice shape. Doesn't look it, but it is in really good shape. Everything's super clean. It only needs a few things. I mean, it needs a lot of little stuff, but it looks like it's definitely been rebuilt in the past. I say that because it's got the steel spacer plate on it, not the aluminum. So that head must have been off at some point. So yeah, if it's not obvious by now, I'm a true cat guy. Caterpillar, that's pretty much all I've ever had in any truck I've had. And to me, they're the best motor in the world. You know, I mean, there's some of them that are bad, of course, but the 3406, the good old 3406, the A, B, C, and E, and I mean, they were the best motors in the world, you know, in the truck industry, I think. You know, I'm a true-hearted cat guy, definitely. So it sucks because I only put this Detroit in this truck about 3 years ago, and you know, and it kind of sucks that I'm switching this thing out already. But it is what it is. So, you know, I could probably rebuild that Detroit for what I paid for that, but at the end of the day, you still got a gutless boat anchor in there, and you know, everything I've ever had a cat in it pretty much. So, you know, you know, when I step on the gas, I like to go forward, not stay still. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. But anyway, back to this. Currently, the truck's got a 15 speed in it. I believe it's got the smaller bell housing, definitely the smaller input shaft. So I am making another trip back to where I got this motor and picking up a 9-speed for it. I don't like that as much as the 15-speed, especially for dump truck being off-road, but it's a good deal, and that transmission's in really good shape. The transmission that's behind the Detroit now, that truck was, that engine that came out of, that was out of a Brockway, and that engine and transmission were just pretty much abused a lot. It was a sight truck, and I mean, those guys in there, I actually before I owned that truck with the Detroit in it that I cut that Detroit out of, I actually watched that truck because we did a logging job on that site. And them guys were just racing that thing around and abusing the holy crap out of it, you know. And who knows how many times that thing was ran out of oil and all that stuff. So, you know, it really don't surprise me, I guess. But when I got that motor, it ran good, and I figured, well, I'll just throw it in there. But hey, I got a few years out of it. You know, I'm not complaining at all. It's just, this is actually fun. But of course, this stuff happens. Like, it's April. This is the beginning of my busy season, and now I'm looking at an engine job. So this is a really fun thing, but it really sucks because I haven't even really made that much money with the damn thing yet before it broke. So now I'm, you know, taking a big chance with this because I don't know much about this motor. I know that it hasn't been running for 10 years. So, but it did run when it was taken out. So we'll see, because I'm going to test fire it before I put it in the truck and make any huge changes here. No. Yeah, there it is. So the first thing I got to do is get all this stupid crap taken off of here that I don't need. And I don't have power steering, so I'm going to take that off. You know, and just, there's a lot of things that got broke on this. This filter connected to the bottom of the block down there, that got broke off. The air governor got broke off. You know, just a lot of stupid little things. Like all this garbage, I don't need half of that for this old International. This engine, I was told, was out of a Ford cab over. You know, just a lot of unnecessary crap. The air conditioner pump, I'm pretty sure I don't need that. So that can come off. I never seen a clutch fan that big before. It's pretty cool. But that thing alone probably weighs 50 pounds. Alternator C's, no big deal. Just bought a new one for the International. For the Detroit, they're pretty much all interchangeable on these trucks. So this engine here is easily twice the size of that Detroit. I'd say this engine, by the time I unloaded it with my skid steers, probably all of 4,000 pounds. All of 3,500 pounds anyway. It's hard to find how much a Cat 3406 weighs on the internet, get an accurate answer, but I could tell pretty much how much something weighs with my skid steer, and I'd say it's definitely all of 3,500 pounds. Without a doubt there. So yeah, I guess I'll get started taking some of this crap off. And I don't think I'm gonna really pull the pan yet. Smart thing to do would be to pull the pan and check the rods and the mains quick, but I'm just gonna pull enough stuff off to make this less complicated, like all this crap. Pull this fan off so nobody gets killed, and just try to test fire it and just see what happens before I go too far. Well, I've been working on this thing for quite a while now. I got every spare cable I own hooked to this thing to try to get the amps to the starter. I tried it a couple times. Hooked a little pressure gauge. It's got like 30 pounds of pressure just cranking it. Got the charger, 3 batteries, a jumper pack. Had to use this makeshift thing to connect them. Jumper cables to get even more amps to the starter. Got it pretty well tore down. I had a piece of pipe broke off in here I had to get out. That was a pain in the ass, but I got it and went after it with a thread chaser. All the oil's getting to the top end. It's missing the turbo clamp here. I was afraid the turbo was bad, but you can't really see in there, I guess, but it spins pretty freely now, so I got this clamp on the way. And all I want to do is spray some ether in it and get it to fire. You know, just get it to fire, but it sounds really good when it cranks over.